These social media companies style themselves as platforms on which other people publish their content.
Yes.
Now, if you are saying you're a platform and you're absolved of any liability when it comes to defamation and the like, then if you start editing, or how they would term it, Topher, is making sure people conform to our community standards.
Removing misinformation, George. Get it right. Removing misinformation.
Fact checking.
Yes, yes.
This is editing.
Correct.
This is editing, which means they are publishers, which means that if someone says something about me that's incorrect and defamatory and false on Facebook, I should be able to sue Mark Zuckerberg for $1 million. The problem
they cannot have it both ways.
I can't sue Mark Zuckerberg for $1 million because he's a platform, and actually what someone posted on it is their liability, not Mark Zuckerberg's. Well, you just said it. You can't have it both ways. So we need to really regulate. And I got to tell you, again, another little scoop, I'm working with other parliamentarians on a private members bill. Private members bills rarely ever see the light of day in terms of becoming law, but this is about exposing the fact that there is a potential solution to this social media big tech censorship and telling the government, look, you can do something about it. Here, us lowly backbenchers have gotten together and worked out a solution around this. It can be done. We can. This is more nefarious than just what I've said. Think about this. Craig Kelly has been deplatformed. Craig Kelly has been removed from Facebook. A sitting member of Parliament removed from Facebook.
You've been censured as well.
And I was just about to whinge about myself. I won't do it much.
No, I will whinge about it for you. You have been censured by your own colleagues for daring to bring up things that don't suit their narrative.
Well, they're jokers. I mean, I got to tell you that this is the truth. I sat there, I gave that speech, and I thought, this needed to be said, and hopefully it'll be picked up. Great. And then I sat there. First thing that happened was Anthony Albanese got up before he asked his first question in question time, said he wanted to disassociate with the Labor Party from my statements. And I thought, wow, okay, my speech is going to get picked up by people now. And then it got to the end of question time and he pulled on this motion condemning me. I thought, thank you, Albo. Now the whole of Australia is going to know what I said. Thank
100%.
you. So they amplified it. And I'm going to tell you, as I said, my email has not stopped going. And the reason I thank him is not for my personal pleasure about being named. It's not pleasurable to be condemned. It's not pleasurable to be said that you're a disinformation spreader. But people are smart enough in this country to go and look at the source. And they looked at it and and a lot of them said, I agree with this guy. What he said is right. It shouldn't have been condemned. But worse than being condemned was that Facebook took the video off its platform. And, they did it for what I said about certain, things that we need to do.
Yeah.
And, I got to tell you, there's a lot of studies about certain things that actually do what I said. And, I'll say no more about that, or else we'll have the video taken down. But again, the social media companies now control the discourse, and they control it from afar. And this is where I wanted to go with this. How is it that Silicon Valley in California, that we have corporations that are actually controlling the public square and the political and ideological and philosophical discourse that's going on within this country? Isn't that foreign interference in our politics? What gives us the right?
You may or may not be aware.
Stop us from saying what we want to say.
Yeah, a friend of mine, Andrew Cooper, and I will happily own him as a friend of mine. I'm happy to be associated with him, regardless of what anyone else may try and say. He was charged under the foreign interference laws because he was involved with this conservative political action group, whatever, where they had Tony Abbott speak at one of their conferences, and all of a sudden some muppet tried to bring down the weight of the law on him for daring to have an overtly conservative conference here in Australia with speakers from all over the place. We see this real twisting of the law and twisting of language to try and silence. And again, I apologize. I mean, none of this is planned. This conversation is completely unplanned. So I don't know the source of this particular quote. But there's a quote that says, when you cut out somebody's tongue, you do not prove that they were wrong. You only prove that you were afraid of what they were going to say. Right? And that's what's happening with censorship. They're trying to cut out my tongue. They're trying to cut out your tongue. They're trying to stop us because they're afraid of what we are actually saying. And the number of times now where a year ago, 18 months ago, I was pinged by Facebook for so-called misinformation that is now accepted as true. And I'll repeat the example I gave before where I was actually wrong, where the whole lab leak theory, that was pinged as misinformation. If you put that on your Facebook page, you would get pinged by Facebook for spreading misinformation. It's now accepted as true. And I didn't even accept it as true early on. I was one of the people saying, you know what, that's probably not true, right? I was wrong. Facebook were also wrong. The difference is, I'll admit it, I'll sit here on a Facebook Live with my own view and say, hey guys, be aware, I'm human, I was wrong. Facebook will never do that. They admit they actually got it wrong. They will carry as though they've been right the whole time. And which brings to mind this sort of 1984 George Orwell kind of idea of this perpetual present. There is no history. History has been erased. There is only a perpetual present in which the state, and I include in that, the Facebook and Twitter and so forth, they are privately owned companies, but they are now acting as organs of state. Okay, here we go. Neville Hyatt. Thank you, Neville.
Right.
And I owe you a phone call, by the way, Neville. I saw that I missed your call earlier today. I will call you back. When you tear out a man's tongue, you are not proving him a liar. You are only telling the world that you fear what he might say. Apparently from George Martin. I didn't know that. Okay, there you go.
I didn't know that either.
Neville, I'll take your word for it.
There's another quote that is similar, but a little bit of a different twist, I guess. And that is, and I can't remember the exact quote verbatim, but it's like, whoever silences the king becomes the king. And yes, they're afraid, but look at Donald Trump and his removal from all platforms, just
Twitter and Facebook and everything else. Yeah,
big tech silenced the king, and they did so. They cut out his tongue because they were afraid of what he might say, but they silenced him nonetheless.
Yeah.
And so, who is running the show? Big tech are now part of the oligarchy, and I probably say that word, that term at my peril, because people think you're a nutter. But there is an oligarchy, and big tech are right up at the pinnacle of it. They control so much of the public square now, and